What do you think the Chargers are doing? I mean, this is your bread and butter. What's the word in and around the building when it comes to Jim and the culture shift? And then also, what do you think they do?
Well, I mean, look, the physicality stuff's real. Like he wants to kind of change that identity of that team and how they play and what they do. With bringing Herbert, the strength coach, in there, I think they've got a real good turnout in terms of all their offseason stuff. The guys get in there and working, but I still feel like trading back and getting a bunch, a bunch of picks. They had kind of like a sneaky number of holes when you look at their roster. I feel like forever we've talked about them as like one of the most talented rosters in the league. When you look at it, you're like, well, dude, they need a D tackle, they need a corner, they need an off the ball linebacker, the center, obviously the receiver hole that everybody's talked about. Like there's a lot of stuff that they want to do there. So I figure like as many, Harbaugh type guys they can get in there that kind of fit. And I'm not talking about Michigan guys, but just like physical style of players, that it'd be kind of a volume draft. So that's why I've been kind of beating the drum that, I think they'd like to get out of there at 5, slide back and take a tackle where there's maybe a little more value, as well as getting some extra picks to address some of those other needs. But I mean, it wouldn't shock me, Chris, if they traded back and took like Byron Murphy, the DT from Texas. It wouldn't shock me. If they took like Terry and Arnold from Alabama, the corner. I mean, I think it's about collecting as many like their types of players, like physical, tough, high energy guys. Like I think that's more so that philosophy than one specific player.
I think it's interesting because you look at the quarterback and generally you're like, hey, we've got a special guy.
Yeah.
We need to surround him with skill. That's the way people think about it. But to your point, it seems like they're trying to stick the landing on a culture shift simultaneously.
Yeah, I just feel like, I mean, if you're Jim Harbaugh, I look at it this way. Like I've been doing it one way everywhere I've ever been, and that one way has worked every single time. So while the whole world is telling me I've got a superstar quarterback and I need to just throw a bunch of weapons and we're going to throw for 5,000 yards, he's like, well, I don't have to do that. Like my formula works, and I'm going to take a lot of pressure off of Justin. Then he doesn't have to be that guy, game in, game out. And when we need him to do it, he can do it. But I don't see him changing. Like, well, I don't know what would be in his history that would tell him he should.
Is that pick the number 5 overall pick by LA? Is that where the deal is most likely to happen, in those 10 or 15 minutes rather than in the weeks and months leading up to the draft?
I don't even think it's like specific to them. Like I know, New England has told some teams like, hey, the latest that I'd heard there was like, hey, we're not doing anything now. Like we'll see, when we get on the clock, that then something, we'll see what the offers are. I think there's something to the fact of, putting that pressure on the deadline and saying, okay, we've got this 15 minutes. Like you better come strong with your first offer, and then we'll work aggressively from there. But I think there's something to that. There seems to be the expectations we won't see anything until these teams get on the clock. But I know, Joe Ortiz at his press conference the other day, he was talking about how like we're going to have to be blown away. And then it got all these headlines, and everybody was talking about like, wow, you're going to really have to give them a great offer. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, what are you going to say? Like, hey, 60 cents on the dollar over here. Like, just give me anything. I'll take it.